Introducing first, speaking out of Akron, Ohio, representing Team Popping the Boys, the headline god, Jeremy Lambert, and his co-host, speaking out of Atlanta, Georgia, representing more than one royal family, the king of indie viewing, Steven Jensen. And this is the Spotlight on Fightful.
Hey everybody, Steven Jensen here, joined today for Jeremy's replacement. Jeremy could not make it, as you can see here on the screen. Or if you're listening audio version, you're about to hear a familiar voice, but it's not going to be the voice of Jeremy Lambert. I have a special guest today, a good friend of mine, a fellow Vikings fan. We have Rob Wilkins in the house of coexisting with Rob and Maggie right here on the same platform. Rob, how you doing, man? Thanks for joining me.
I am good. Thanks for having me. I'm doing real good. My Timberwolves won last night, and so they beat the Lakers in a series, which shocked a lot of people. So I'm good there. We had the draft last week, so I'm good there. And then we got wrestling to talk about. So life is good.
Yes, life is good. And I should say, and as we normally mention, I'm not used to doing the hosting here. I'm not used to doing the introductions and all that stuff for the show. But shout out, as always, to Big Dick MLJ on the intro. I always want to give a shout out to Emil. Corey Michaels in the house in the chat said, oh, yeah, we got a Rob fan. And Corey, always good to see you in here. So anyone who's in here, Scott George, always here in the show as well. Always appreciate you being a part. Anyone else who's in the chat, whether you're just hanging out, lurking on your couch, watching off your TV or whatever device you're watching this off of. If you're just chilling, we appreciate you just chilling. If you're hanging out and you want to be a part of the chat, part of the discussion, we'll keep our eye on the chat all night, be a part of the show. And if you send super chats, of course, we'll put it on the screen. We'll read out your questions or answer your questions, read your statements, all that kind of stuff. Pile driver finisher in the chat today as well. As always, good to see the regulars in here. If you're a first-time viewer, normally this is me and Jeremy Lambert, but you can still catch Rob, as I mentioned, right here with Maggie every week as well, right here on the same channel. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to talking to you about some pro wrestling. But before we get into that, as I mentioned at the top of the show, you are a Vikings fan, and so am I. How are you feeling heading into this 2025 football season? Because I'll give you my thoughts after yours. I don't want to bias your opinion at all with mine. How are you feeling heading into the season? Now we are post-draft. JJ McCarthy looks like he's going to be our guy, and we got a team built around him to put in position, in my opinion, to win immediately. How do you feel?
Oh, man, I'm feeling pumped up. I liked our free agent moves this year. We needed to upgrade on our offensive line. Even though our offensive line played pretty good last year, we still needed it to be better. And the Vikings, they did that. They drafted Donovan Jackson, which is good. And it's the same old thing. The wideouts are going to be good. You have Jefferson, you have Addison. Our tight end Hawkinson's great. The thing that I do like is we still have Aaron Jones, but we have a good backup in. So that's good. I like having that. I'm very excited for this year, and the fact that we don't have to really deal with any quarterback controversy. It wasn't really controversy last year. We just didn't know going into the season who our quarterback was going to be until JJ got hurt, unfortunately, but this year's looking good, and I'm excited, man. A lot of people around here are very excited right now. Like I mentioned on the at the opening, right now everybody's talking about Timberwolves and the Minnesota Wild right now. But once the season's over, Vikings talk picks way up. So I'm always listening to sports talk radio around here. So right now it's kind of quiet as far as Viking talk goes, but it'll pick back up, and yeah, I'm ready. I'm ready to see what we can do. I think we're going to win the North this year. I know a lot of people think the Lions will do it, but I think we got it. That's my thought process. And if I didn't think the Vikings would do it, then what kind of fan am I?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm incredibly biased when it comes to my Vikings takes. Like, I take them to win the Super Bowl every year, and you know how it goes. Like, but I I'm not giving people gambling advice here. Don't take this as advice. I'm not telling people to go out there and do this. I'm a responsible adult with some expendable income, so I just, I do it for fun. But like, I had money on the Vikings winning the Super Bowl last year. Obviously, the odds were crazy high for that to happen. But I also had them winning the North, which they would have won any other season ever had Detroit not had, 14-win year or whatever. I think we won 13, they won 14 or something like that last year. I mean, just insane. Yeah. But as far as like heading into this season, I'm incredibly optimistic. I really like what I've seen of JJ McCarthy. I'm not a huge fan of college football, so I don't know as much about these guys like until the draft draft talk starts happening for them, and then I start kind of going back and kind of seeing what they can do. I pay attention to some of the big bowl games and stuff towards the end of the college football season and stuff as well. But I really like what I've seen of McCarthy, and as you mentioned, the pieces they have around him, the best wide receiver in football, in my opinion, in Justin Jefferson. Then you got Jordan Addison, who I think would be the number one receiver on most other teams. I think he's fantastic. Hawkinson rules. You mentioned, we're bringing back Jones running back, and we also have Jordan Mason now, as you mentioned, came in from the Niners, and he looked good last year, replacing Christian McCaffrey while he was injured. So I'm looking forward to that. It's great to see that Harrison Smith is back for another season. He's like my favorite defensive player ever. So I love seeing that. We've been building. I love B-Flow, Brian Flores. I love Kevin O'Connell. I love Quincy Adolfo-Mensa. Like I really like the leadership they've put in place for the Vikings. And I don't think a rookie quarterback, not, you know what I mean? McCarthy's not technically a rookie, but it's going to be his first actual season being able to start. No one has ever been kind of position before, in my opinion, to be successful immediately, because all he's got to do, like, we're giving him protection. You mentioned our O-line. Our O-line should be, they weren't bad last year, but they should be significantly better now with the additions. And also Darisaw getting injured last year. He's like the best offensive line player in like the whole league. So so anyways, super, super, super optimistic for my Vikings. I will definitely be putting more wagers on them. And I was happy with what they did in the draft. The one thing that I'm a little not confused about, but was a little more head scratching. And then we'll get into the wrestling talk. But y'all know I love my Vikings. I don't get to talk Vikings too much on here. The other thing is, I was in the camp of not bringing in Aaron Rodgers. So like I did not want Rodgers to come in and start over McCarthy this season, because I want McCarthy to get a chance right now. We 10th overall pick last year. Like, we should give the kid a chance, in my opinion, especially with Kevin O'Connell being Kevin O'Connell. Look what he did with Sam Darnold last season. Look what he did with Kirk Cousins the season before that. So anyways, it's one of those things where like the only thing that I wasn't sure about was, okay, we're not going to bring in Rodgers. I like that. Kind of surprised we didn't make a move for like Flacco or even Kirk Cousins, if we can make something work to bring him back as the backup. Like, I'm not sold on like Sam Howell being able to be Sam Darnold if we needed him to this season. Like, if we have a Super Bowl ready team and something happens to JJ, or like he actually isn't ready, having like a Cousins or a Flacco, like a veteran who could just get the ball to our superstars, like I was kind of surprised they went with Sam Howell and not someone more established. But how do you feel about all that?
I agree with you. The Sam Howell was a little bit confusing, but then when I listened to it on the local, like KFAN, Minneapolis Vikings radio, they made a good point. Like, basically what they traded was basically a pick to get another like quarterback veteran. Like, the thing is that late in the draft, do you want to take a chance at drafting somebody that might not even make the team, or do you want to have somebody that's been a starter? Granted, I know some people even said, well, Brock Purdy was like a lotto, that was once in a. So it's one of those things where it's like I look at it from a perspective of, this guy could always get cut, like he might not make the team, and if something comes across where they can find something, I mean, I look at it this way: the Browns have 4 or 5 quarterbacks on their roster now. One of those guys is likely going to be cut. Would I take Flacco then? Absolutely. I kind of wish, I agree with you. I wish we would have gone after Flacco. Flacco would be a good guy to learn from, to learn more from. So,
Yeah, when you mention, like us basically, I like what you're saying though, and I understand what you're saying about, like basically we more or less got Sam Howell as like a 5th round draft pick.
Yeah.
Like, but we've seen what he actually kind of looks like. It's not the complete unknown of like, obviously hot topic of the draft, Shedeur Sanders, who was a 5th round pick, like, but he's on a team with 5 quarter, like he could potentially get cut. Like, I'm not saying he should, but I'm just saying like he's a 5th round pick. 5th round picks get cut all the time because you don't have the same kind of monetary implications as like the first the first round picks, especially the top ones. So I just think it's interesting too that like, and I think you're right there. Like personally speaking, like in the situation the Vikings are currently in, I would rather have Sam Howell as a backup to JJ McCarthy right now than I would want like Shedeur Sanders, for instance, or any other 5th round draft pick coming in. Because for one, I don't want someone coming in to compete with JJ. Like I want JJ to feel comfortable that it's his job. And for 2, if it's going to default to anyone else, I don't want it to be another unknown. I want it to be somebody who has some sort of experience in the league.
Yeah, exactly. Like that's like before the season started, what I really wanted the Vikings to do, I wanted them to actually sign I wanted them to go after either Joe Flacco or Andy Dalton is what I wanted them to do. Andy Dalton re-signed with the Panthers, so it was just like, I'm like, well, maybe we got a shot at Flacco. And then Flacco ended up going back to the Browns, or signing with the Browns. So it's just one of those kind of things. It's just
yeah, I'm with you. And let's also not forget that we did make soft offers to both Darnold and Daniel Jones. Like, and I'd imagine that we would have wanted them in this spot, helping McCarthy, backing him up, or maybe starting if they had to the first half. Basically, what the plan was for Darnold last year before McCarthy got hurt. With one of those 2 guys.
And this is how I feel about like athletes in general. It's sort of the same way I feel about pro wrestlers. I don't fault them one bit for going to get the money at all. Like it's the same thing with wrestling. If a wrestler can get more money and what's best for them, absolutely. Do I wish we would have thrown some more money at them? Yeah, because we had a lot of like salary space, but it's one of those things where we could use that salary in other spots, and we did. So I kind of like that. And I know from the perspective of JJ, like it's good to not have that thing of worrying about it behind your back. Like if I have a bad game, could I lose it? Like I like them going into the season, going into training camp with him, just knowing that, hey, you're the guy, you're the leader of this team now, go do it. So I like that. I think we're good to go. And I do notice Sean Gardner, I completely agree that Jaden Daniels has a good shot at being the MVP next year.
Yeah, phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal player. Makes that team. I mean, like makes the team. I mean, they have other good players on the team, obviously. Not completely just him, but like that team is not what they are without him. I mean, he is incredibly valuable. He's going to be a really high fantasy quarterback next season too. I know he was last year, but like he's going to really pop off this year. Probably.
LSU, man, they've done well for us. I mean, even for Vikings with Justin, and then we had Danielle Hunter for so long. So
yes. Also, last Vikings related thing I'll bring up just to kind of tie the conversation together. When you mentioned Sam Darnold, and like him not staying and taking more money, I think the Vikings gave him exactly the offer that I would have given him. And it all boils down to, in my opinion, the last 2 games of last season where he just kind of imploded. Otherwise, you're looking at this guy making probably 50, 60 million a season. I mean, he cost himself a lot of money with those games. And
exactly.
Yeah. And he wound up taking a relatively similar offer. It was like 33 million instead of 25 million with Seattle, but Seattle has an opt-out clause after 1 season. So they can ditch him after 1 year for any reason if they want to. So it's kind of an interesting situation. Daniel Jones, I understand too, because we gave him a low offer, but with an opportunity to maybe start this year or develop JJ, and he has a better chance at starting in Indy than he would in Minnesota. Yeah. So like he took money and has a better chance there. So I don't fault him for that either. I don't even fault Adam Thielen for like ending his career in Carolina. He's my favorite player of all time, but like he was getting phased out in Minnesota. He got the bag in Carolina. He's the best receiver on that team. Like
Yeah.
I don't follow.
And I would take him if he becomes available. Like if the Panthers suck and they're just looking for a draft pick, like hell, I'd give a 6th or 5th round pick.
1,000,000%, dude. Just use him in goal situations. That guy in the red zone. Just oh my gosh. All right, guys, we're going to talk about wrestling the rest of this episode. But thank you for sticking around. Those of you that have to listen to us talk about the Vikings. Me and Rob used to have a short-lived NFL podcast, actually. Yeah. And we mainly talked about the Vikings there as well. So.
Yeah. It was a couple of Saturday mornings, right? It was 4 or 5 episodes, and then we just kind of had enough. It's like,
yeah, it wasn't meant to be, but we will talk about pro wrestling right now, y'all. And I'm going to hit the bumper, and we'll get into it.
I need to finish the story. In the WWE, the story never finishes.
Well, a story that's been going on for quite a long time in the lore of the WWE universe is John Cena versus Randy Orton. But now, I was getting tongue twisted. Now the scripts have flipped. I couldn't figure out how to say that. The roles have reversed. Everyone knows what I'm talking about here. We have a heel John Cena and a babyface Randy Orton for the first time in this decades-long rivalry that's literally been going back to like the early 2000s. We've seen Randy Orton hit some RKOs on John Cena. We know this match is going to be official for Backlash in St. Louis, which is, of course, the stomping grounds of Randy Orton. On Monday, we're not going to like go line for line and all this kind of stuff because I'm assuming, assuming makes an ass out of you and me, I get it. But assume that the people watching this show know what we're talking about. They've probably seen. They don't need me to break down line for line what happened in this promo, but the gist of it is John Cena. He's still in this hate, not even love hate, just a hate relationship with the fan base. He said out there that he raised your kids, all the kids in the crowd that are now adults, and now they're being raised by the people that he raised. And John Cena is tired of it, and the kids have disappointed him that he raised, basically. And Randy Orton, of course, talks about, their history with one another. And, there's just a lot of history there. They've had many matches. But once again, the dynamic's totally different now with Randy Orton being the good guy, John Cena being the bad guy. Rob, how do you feel so far, at this point, I should say, knowing that this is the Backlash match? How do you, how do you feel about where we're at with the whole thing? And ultimately, do you see John Cena retaining, in St. Louis, in Randy Orton's hometown?
Yeah, I definitely see him retaining in the hometown of Randy Orton, Keith Orton. It's so weird going into this year, having at the Royal Rumble, we were just kind of thinking, okay, well, the dream of Cena being a heel is probably not going to happen. Then Elimination Chamber happened, and we got the Cena heel. And the fact that we're getting Randy Orton versus John Cena again is pretty cool because I didn't think we'd get that again, for the longest time. And that feud, it's one of Cena's biggest rivals. It will always go down as Cena's biggest rivals along with Orton's. So the fact that they're doing this in St. Louis to give Orton a shot makes sense because it's going to help ticket sales because Randy always does well, obviously, in St. Louis. So you got that. Cena's going to definitely carry that title through the summer, I believe. And how he wins, I think he'll do what a normal heel does. I think he'll get a cheap shot in there, or he'll do something to get the victory. I'm hoping it's not Travis Scott. But it'd be interesting because they're in St. Louis. It'd be Nelly. No, I'm kidding. I'm definitely kidding there.
The whole St. Louis.
Yeah. So it's interesting that they're going this route, and I always kind of wanted them to do this. Even if John didn't run with the title, I still wanted to see those two have a feud, or at least run it back a couple of times. So I think we're getting that. I think we're still going to get Cena versus Punk. I think we're going to get that as well. So I think we're going to get a run back of Cena and some of his old rivals, and I believe that when it's all said and done, I think Cena's last opponent will be Cody. Is how I think it'll all come down to.
I think you're.
And granted, that. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I didn't mean to cut you off. I think you're a genius because we think alike as far as I think Cody and Cena is Cena's final match. Also, sorry, what were you saying? I didn't mean to cut you off there. I
was just gonna say that's what I think the best way to do it is Cena's way of passing the torch. I do kind of wonder how they're going to do it because I do not see Cena going out as a heel. So I'm very curious to see how that goes. I'm kind of thinking that we might get, I'm hoping we get face versus face for Cena, like Rhodes. I still don't think they need to do the heel turn on Rhodes. I know they've been talking about it. I don't see why you would do it yet.
Yeah. So I agree with everything you said, literally about all of that. Like, I do think Cena's going to retain. I do think he'll do it by, kicking Orton in the dick, something like that. I mean, it'll be a heel tactic. I don't think that Cena is going to end his run as a heel either. And I am interested as well in knowing or finding out how they, because they just don't have a whole lot of time. They have like half a year. Once Backlash ends, especially. So like, so in my opinion, because I've talked about this on the show before, but I can get your thoughts on this as well. In my opinion, in hindsight, if The Rock knew he wasn't going to be involved in WrestleMania, they should have waited to do the Cena heel turn until WrestleMania. For a few reasons. One, I think would have been even more effective because the WrestleMania main event, like the black cloud there was The Rock not being involved when everyone obviously expected him to. A lot of people also don't like Travis Scott being involved at all, and I understand that too. So like it just seemed kind of anticlimactic in a lot of ways, but it would have been a huge moment and it would have been looked at a lot differently had that been the moment Cena turned. Now, you got to get him back to babyface within like half a year from now, as I just mentioned, which is going to be a challenge. You also have to do it in a way that doesn't turn Cody into a heel, because I agree with you there as well. I don't think that they should turn Cody into a heel anytime soon. I've talked about it all the time, but I mean, the fact that they have someone in Cody's position, and obviously I'm incredibly biased, y'all, I know, but like, regardless of my bias, everyone can agree they haven't had a guy like this as like an actual top white meat babyface good guy like since Cena. Like, and before that, it was pretty much Hogan. I know that Austin was the top guy and The Rock was real close. And like, I know there was really popular wrestlers, but as far as like who was supposed to be like the good guy, do the make-a-wishes, say your prayers, eat your vitamins. I know that all hasn't aged great with Hogan over the years, but you gotta go. Me and Rob go back to the late 80s, you know what I mean? Like, so we remember when the Hulkster was the Hulkster. Things have changed a lot now, but you guys understand my point. It's like they actually have a guy in Cody that they've been looking for since Cena. Roman has become a massive superstar for them also. It was a different path, and he is more of like a cool heel that also is now a babyface, gets babyface reactions, but like Cody's kind of like what they were trying to make Roman into like 10 years ago, like when he was coming out of the Shield and they were trying to make that top baby face for so long. Like, they actually have it in Cody. So like to turn him into a heel anytime soon seems really, really dumb. Like, I would not do that at all if I was them. But at the same time, like you mentioned, how do you get to Cody versus Cena, which I think should be the last match for Cena? I completely agree with you there as well. How do you do it in a way that Cena leaves as a babyface, Cody also leaves as a babyface, like, but he doesn't somehow get booed out of the building in the process because the fans are cheering Cena? So, like, do you wait until the actual match to turn John Cena babyface, where like he's a heel throughout most of the match, and then like he realizes towards the end like he doesn't cheat, and then like endure? Like, I don't know how you do it. But I agree with you all the way through it. I just don't know how they execute it.
Yeah, I mean, that's a big thing too, is they got to do it where it makes sense. That's the biggest thing, because after WrestleMania, The Rock made all of this not make any sense. from a story standpoint, and that's the biggest thing, because you have to go, if they do it, and I'm trying to think, because I was thinking SummerSlam, like after SummerSlam would be the best way to start, like moving him towards being a face again, because that gives you a couple months and he could do his run there. But I really don't know, because I do know that The Rock will be filming with Martin Scorsese soon, and those movies usually, I don't know how long he'll be on set for that, so it's kind of writing things off. So I don't know how they're going to do it, but I believe they're going to figure out a way. The biggest way to do it, the way I always mention to Maggie, if you want somebody to be a face, you just have him face Logan Paul.
Yeah, I mean, I do want to see that match. By the way, I was actually advocating that to be the WrestleMania match for Cena before the whole turn happened. The thing with Cena also that throws me off because of the Rock thing, and the reason that I think they shouldn't have even done this with the Rock involved or waited to WrestleMania, as I mentioned, a big part of it is because John Cena won the Elimination Chamber before any of that even happened. So like he had the title shot before he even turned heel. So like, what was the point of selling his soul to the Rock and the Rock not even being involved? It just doesn't make any. It doesn't make any sense in hindsight how they wound up doing any of this.
Yep, exactly.
But, I always wanted to see the Cena heel turn. I'm not mad about that. I still enjoy seeing him. It's a weird dynamic, and he's trying really, really hard to be a heel. And there's a lot of fans who still want to cheer him, obviously, which is to be expected. But it's like, it's just interesting, kind of the position that they put themselves in with the whole Rock, Travis Scott. Because that's once again, Black Cloud. I talk about the Rock, not being at WrestleMania. The other kind of black cloud or whatever you want to call it would be the thought of like, oh no, like, is Travis Scott going to come out and ruin like another pay-per-view main event? Like you mentioned it earlier, like, is he going to get involved at Backlash? Like how often is he involved, and how long until he actually has some sort of match? Because there has to be more of a payoff to this than Cody hitting one crossroads on this guy. Like, it's interesting. His involvement is interesting because I understand he's very, very famous, but I'm just not. I don't know. I feel like most wrestling fans just don't really care about him. So that's the vibe that I get from most wrestling fans.
Yeah, no, I understand completely where you're coming from, and it's gonna be tricky to see how they do it, and if they. I just don't see Cena going out being a heel. I just don't see it. I think it'd be, I just don't think it'd be good for business in a way. I think so. We'll have to see though. Yeah,
it would not be. I don't think anyone. I don't think anyone expects him to go out as a heel. But they also, I almost wish they wouldn't have put that timeline on his career. I wish like we didn't know for sure he was going to end in December, like before he turned, because then it just leaves the whole story so much more open to where we're not having to we're not pigeonholed in the situation of like having to make this happen within the next 6 months. We would have had, however long that, Cena's going to be around. But anyway, at the end of the day, I know there's a lot of wrestling fans that complain about the Cena heel turn and don't like what they've done with it. And a lot of people don't like the WrestleMania main event. And I understand all this stuff. But also keep in mind, everybody, that we begged for a very long time to see a John Cena heel turn, and they actually had the balls to go ahead and do it. So I'm grateful that they're at least attempting it. And this is more interesting to me than John Cena coming out and just doing the greatest hits, hustle, loyalty, respect. The kind of status quo. In the interviews that I've seen too, it sounds like that's Cena's mindset also, is like he likes that he's being challenged in this last year. He's not just coming out and just hitting autopilot. So here's a super chat. Thank you very much, Andrew Brown, for being a part of the show today. Andrew says, he asks, do you think Cena is doing a bad Naito as a heel? I could go on and on. I don't know how often you watch the show, Andrew, but Naito, that's a whole other conversation in itself, because I don't know what he's about to be doing. because he kind of was the Cena of New Japan, like at this current time in a certain way. Like he's not Tanahashi. I get that. But Tanahashi, you know, is on his way out, and Naito is kind of like the last big name still there in New Japan of like all the guys like Nakamura and Okada and so on and so forth that were there and then have left. Naito kind of was like their last remaining guy, and him leaving New Japan is very it's interesting because I don't expect him to, you know, wind up in the WWE or AEW at this point, because unfortunately he's very broken down. Like his matches just aren't what they used to be. So, you know, I don't know, but that just got me thinking about Naito. Anyways, other WWE topic I want to bring up real quick. It wasn't a part of our scheduled topics, but it was worth mentioning. This past Friday on WWE Smackdown, the triple threat tag team TLC match was awesome. I just wanted to throw that out there. Would you like to give any thoughts on that match? Because I think that match definitely should have been on WrestleMania. Like that was a WrestleMania caliber match, 1,000,000%. It would have been one of the better matches on WrestleMania, actually, for both nights. And there were some great matches on WrestleMania, don't get me wrong, the triple threat matches especially. But how did you feel about this? This is a very innovative match. They were doing stuff I've never seen before, and I've seen a lot of these types of matches. Like, how did you feel about this one and the Street Profits retaining?
Oh, I absolutely loved this match. I've watched it twice. I've watched it twice already. I actually, yeah, it definitely had like WrestleMania written all over it, like for a match that should have been at WrestleMania. However, I will say this is I'm glad they got the time that they got.
Yes.
Because if it was at Mania, I could easily see that time being cut in half, if not longer. Or right. If not more, you know? So,
yeah.
So in a way, I look at it this way. In a way, we got it. It was a better match, and these guys had a chip on their shoulder, and they got to go out there and just kick ass and take some names. And it basically also sent a message to Triple H that, hey, next year, don't leave us off the damn card, you know? And, you know, there's something else that can be said about, like, and this is kind of tying it in, but there's no reason why we can't have more matches at WrestleMania. Because we don't need 600 replays of highlights or things like that we get multiple times a show. You can give me like you can fit in another match or two, like with that, or you can do picture in picture if you want to. It's crazy. I want more matches on these big cards. I mean, this for WrestleMania to only have that for 2 nights of WrestleMania to only have that amount of matches, it's kind of crazy. Plus, at least do a pre-show match, in my opinion. But that's me.
No, I completely agree with you, and I think that most people that listen to this would probably agree as well. That, as I mentioned, I think that match. I mean, for different reasons, like the women's triple threat that opened night 2. And the men's triple threat that closed night 1. Like, I think those were the 2 best matches that we actually got on WrestleMania. And I'd put that TLC match, you know, right up there with those, honestly. Like that TLC match. The other thing that would have been cool about having that TLC match at WrestleMania was it would have been, this maybe doesn't matter, but like kind of when like the lore of WrestleMania and like future WrestleMania video packages and highlight reels and in history and stuff like that TLC match would have went up there with like the Hardys, Dudleys, Edge and Christian, like, you know what I mean? Like people would have actually compared that and been like, we got a like this pays homage to that. Like this actually was like that level, which, you know, so, but nonetheless, I completely agree as well with you that they, you know, the fact that it happened on SmackDown and it got the time that it did, that's a good thing, you know. So that's, you know, I'm glad it worked out the way that it did in that regard. But I wish those performers could have gotten to wrestle at WrestleMania in front of the massive crowd and gotten those big entrances. And yeah, so they should have been on the show. But Awesome match. All 6 of those dudes completely showed out. I love seeing Motor City Machine Guns, like their whole run in WWE so far. I think they've looked so damn good. Like, it's so cool seeing them in these situations. And DIY, I've always felt like they were better together than separately. And them being able to have a match like this, great stuff. And just Street Profits. Dude, I know I don't want to downplay how good Dawkins is because he keeps getting better and better. But like Montez Ford is just special. Like, people have been saying that forever, but that dude is the stuff that guy can do and the athleticism that guy has. He has like major single star written all over him at some point, but Dawkins is great as well. Like I said, I don't want it to be like he sucks or anything. He's not like the Genetti of the team or something like that.
Yeah, no. Yeah, good God.
But like, you see Ford do some of this stuff. Like, he did that. It was like a running like flip over the top rope, basically wound up being like a swanton, but he did it like through the table. Like, I've never really seen somebody. I've seen similar stuff to that, but the way that he hit it with like that, like just like the grace, I don't know how else to describe it. It's just like, it made it look so easy. And that's a move that's so easy to mess up. Like, one miscalculation, you look like a total moron, like landing early or like missing, or the table doesn't break, or like, anyway, these guys, they were doing stuff, like I mentioned, they were doing some stuff that I'd never even seen before. And that's like, I've seen a million of these types of matches across the world and different wrestling promotions and stuff. So that was
they absolutely just slayed, man. It was a good match. And I mean, that was a pretty good Smackdown in my opinion too.
Yeah. Anything else from the Smackdown that you want to highlight, or anything from Raw before we
well, no, the only thing I was going to say is I was surprised that they took the title off Chelsea Green, but I think it's good that Zelina has her own singles title now. So good for her. Kudos to her. But I know a lot of people were disappointed that they took that title off Chelsea Green, but I actually think Chelsea Green will, in my opinion, will win the main title this year. In my opinion, I think she will.
Also, I can't believe I'd even bring it up, but the return of Aleister Black also.
Oh yeah. That one too.
Speaking of Zelina, I thought that was great that he got his old entrance and old theme song back, and that was a presentation that that the WWE fans wanted, and it seems like, I'm not going to speak for the guy obviously, but it seems like he's been wanting to get back to the WWE for a while now. So hopefully he is happy, and obviously having Zelina there, I'm sure he is happy. And, he's always been a great performer. In this setting, we'll see. I feel like Triple H, obviously Triple H used him very well in NXT. I'm interested. It looks like it's him and The Miz initially, right? So that's kind of a weird matchup, but I'm sure he'll just kind of squash him.
Well, I'm hoping The Miz is just a short-term thing and let it be Carmelo Hayes.
Yeah,
that's what I'm hoping. That's my thought process in it. Is it's going to last this week, and they're just going to have their one match, and then Carmelo Hayes and Aleister Black is where it'll be. That's what I'm hoping for, at least.
That seems a little more exciting. And listen, I'm a lifelong Miz guy. Like, I was a fan of him all the way back on the Real World and back to New York. Like, I remember watching that with my buddies when I was in middle school. I used to watch the Miz get drunk and dropkick trash cans. So I've always been a Miz guy. I've always respected the fact that guy went off and did those early challenges, like when it was Real World challenges, and he took the money he won from those challenges and enrolled in UPW to get into a wrestling school, and like actually made it as a pro wrestler. And then 20 years later, like to this day, like he's still a main, a featured part of the company who's won their main WWE championship multiple times. Like, that's
main event of WrestleMania in Atlanta. So
I was there. Absolutely. Yeah. One of the best video packages for a WrestleMania match ever, like before he came out for that match for that defense. So, but Carmelo Hayes, it's more exciting to see Carmelo Hayes and Aleister Black in there. Carmelo's coming off of the Andre win and stuff. So, there's a little more momentum there. So, All right, are we ready to move on to AEW?
Sure.
All right, let's do it.
Over 1 million fans and a great number in the demo tuned in. And it was a great show, and I think it's been a run of great shows.
AEW Dynamite last night. There was I thought it was a very solid show. I really enjoyed it. The opening match was fantastic. That 8-man tag team match, that was nuts. And that's the kind of like quote unquote restore the feeling type stuff I like about what they're doing in AEW right now. Just going out and just having banker matches, like pay-per-view quality matches, just kicking shows off and stuff like that. I mean, this isn't the first week we've been seeing that. We've been seeing that for a little while now. So I want to give kudos to AEW on an awesome opening match. But what we're going to deep dive a little more into right now is the main event and this Owen Hart tournament, Owen Hart Cup tournament in the finals. So last night we had Hangman Adam Page defeats Kyle Fletcher and advance to the finals where he's going to take on Will Ospreay at Double or Nothing. So I thought this match was awesome, first and foremost. Like, I'm a huge Hangman guy. I think he's the most interesting character in AEW. Like, just as far as his history in the company, coming in, wanting to be the first ever AEW World Champion, the big culmination of that, defeating his longtime friend, former tag champion Omega to become the champion, the whole evil cowboy type thing, and burning Swerve's house down and all this stuff. The whole Swerve story I thought was just, it still is very intriguing to right now, like, because it's still ongoing. And I'm a huge fan of both those guys. So I can't say enough good things about Hangman. And Kyle Fletcher is legitimately one of the best overall talents AEW has, and he hasn't even hit his prime yet. Like, this guy. Yeah. This is legitimately like a Kenny Omega, Will Ospreay. Like, he is going to be one of those types of guys. He already is becoming one of those types of guys, and he's hanging with those guys. So Kyle Fletcher, pound for pound, honestly, and given his age, he might be the most valuable asset AEW has right now, like long term.
Yeah. I'd definitely say that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he's 20. He's almost, what is he, 27 or so? Or 26, like I think. Yeah, he's 26. I mean, you're right. He's not even in his prime yet. And the dude's a stud. And you have guys like Takeshita there. They're going to be fine. It's just, when it comes down to AEW, it's the same thing. And that it'll, in my opinion, it'll always be. It comes down to storyline. And I think they'll be okay. Like, they're turning it around again now. They're making it appointment television. Like, if you're available to watch it, you're going to watch it type thing. It used to be, in my opinion, that sometimes it's like, I can watch it later type thing. That there was a period of time where that's how it felt like with me. I mean, don't get me wrong, I try to watch wrestling live anytime I can, but it's one of those things where I understand where people were coming from a standpoint of how certain matches would go, a lot of the booking would go, very questionable things. I know for the longest time, and I know people are still kind of just tired of the Jon Moxley holding the title, but the way I told somebody, I go, look, I understand where they're coming from with the Moxley thing, but whoever defeats them and gets that title, it's just going to help them out in the long run even more. So I think they're going the right direction. That's the easiest way to say it.
Yeah, I think as a company that they are, and I was never like super down on AEW either. Like, I never like turned on them like most people did, but I definitely saw differences in the company, and like there's definitely differences between how the company was and what it looked like, and some of the people involved 5 years ago versus right now. But like, that's going to happen with any company that's 5 years old. They're going to look different at the 10-year mark. I don't think AEW is in any kind of risk of, like, if WWE didn't exist, AEW would be viewed as like an insanely successful business by like measurable standards. You know what I mean? It's just because they're constantly compared to the McDonald's of wrestling that like they get a bad rap. And
that's the thing. Like, I look at AEW like that. I'm amazed at what they've been able to do, like in their short like history. I mean, the TV deal they got with Warner, the stuff they've been able to do internationally, the deals been able to get. They've done pretty well for themselves, and one thing I definitely appreciate is because of what they've done, they made things better for like wrestling in general. WWE got better because of AEW because they knew they had to change their stuff. Like, I mean, we don't get the Vince rematches like we used to, where you'd watch a Monday Night Raw, you get the same matches the next night. It's type stuff, you just knew that there was nothing going to happen on SmackDown, and because of things just going on and getting better and character development, they got a lot of people interested in the Roman Reigns bloodline story. You had Cody Rhodes chasing the title. In my opinion, none of this really happens. Well, and who knows what Cody Rhodes is doing right now if AEW never existed. I mean,
sure,
it's a good thing, and I'm glad that they're turning it around. I know I'm very excited to see this Double or Nothing just based off the matches that we have already like set. The Will Ospreay versus Hangman. Those two have never faced each other one-on-one, so that's going to be good. And I'm excited for that match. That's like I wouldn't necessarily say a dream match, but it's a match that if you told me to write down 10 matches you'd like to see in AEW, that would definitely make the list. And the fact that they're doing that makes me pretty happy. And the winner of that match is likely going to face, we already know they're going to face the champion, right? At Double or Nothing, or excuse me, All In. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I think that's official. But that's what the assumption's been. Yeah.
Yeah. So
because I'm assuming it'll be Mox still. They're going to do Mox versus Joe at was it Beach Break next week?
Yeah, Beach Break in Chicago. Okay. Yeah.
It's either the next week or the week after. I can't remember. Regardless, that's coming up soon. But I expect Moxley to retain there. And then they got him versus Swerve set up now also for the time?
They haven't officially set it up, I don't think, or have they? Yeah, they have, I think, for Double or Nothing, right?
Double or Nothing, yeah. I think they've made it official. See, that's the thing. There's so many moving pieces in this WrestleMania season and the collective season for me, so I'm still trying to remember exactly how all this is lined up. Because yeah, we have Double or Nothing, then of course All In that they gotta set up like immediately after that. So like, I ultimately though, we assume that it's gonna be Moxley defending it All In, and that's probably where he's gonna lose the title, most likely, if I had to guess, given this whole Death Rider story and how long it's been going off. And I'm with you as well as far as like a payoff. I hope that it does work out as you just mentioned, and that whoever beats Moxley, it all winds up being worth it in the end. That they kind of push through this story, and hopefully it winds up once again like putting over that next person. But who is going to be the next person? That's my question. Like, is it going to be Will Ospreay, or is it going to be Hangman Page? Like, who do you think actually winds up winning the Owen? And then who do you think wrestles Mox, and do you expect that person to be the one to beat Mox?
Right now, I think it's Swerve. I think that's where they're going.
Okay.
Because you can go two different ways with like after Swerve, because you're gonna get a good story either way, because we know there's history with Swerve and Ospreay. We definitely know there's history with Ospreay with Hangman and Swerve. So I mean, it's pick your poison there. It's gonna be interesting.
Yeah, so I don't get me wrong. I like the idea of Swerve winning the AEW World Championship. I have no problem at all with the idea of him being the champion, going into the championship at All In. Obviously, the match with him and Hangman writes itself, but yeah, I have it kind of in mind that I think that Swerve and Hangman are going to have to team at All In, because they've been like teasing this like respect, and like Swerve essentially apologize, and Hangman like doesn't know how to process it. But like, I think they might wind up doing like maybe the two of them versus the Young Bucks or something. Like I I'm not sure exactly what they'll wind up doing, but I think that the two of them will wind up teaming. But I could totally see them wrestling one another too. I think all these scenarios make sense, and they're all great options because all these matches are going to be. I mean, the payoff's going to be worth it for any match we're putting together right now with any of these wrestlers. Because then you can also look at it the other way. If Ospreay beats Hangman, even if they do Ospreay Swerve or Ospreay Mox, either way, we might wind up with Ospreay finally winning the AEW Championship, which a lot of people would want to see. I mean, it's just, they got so many. Personally speaking, I think that this was all set up for Darby Allin, but I don't know what his status is with climbing the mountain, and he hasn't been on TV, and I don't know if they can do that. Like, I just don't think it would make sense because he hasn't been around for so much of this story. So if it's not going to be him, my main pick would be Hangman Page, because you can always come back to Hangman versus Swerve at any point. It doesn't have to happen right now. You can do that at any time.
I made the joke about Darby, he's going to be halfway up Mount Everest, and Sean's going to be there with a microphone, waiting for him, halfway there, just freezing to death, saying, how much further do you plan on going, and will we see you?
That'd be funny. Yeah. Oh man, I don't even know. No one really knows how long that's going to take.
Oh, I don't know. Yeah,
for him to do that.
Yeah, I don't know. I know he's. I don't even know if he started. I know he's been training, but okay. So Scott says he was supposed to climb the mountain on April 17th.
Okay.
So
that was half a month ago.
That was 2 weeks ago. So man,
I
don't know how long it takes. So
I don't know how long it takes, and also you have no idea how he'll be physically when he comes back. Now that said, for all I know, he could be back in plenty time to build All In.
Oh, crap. Sorry, I Googled it, and it says it takes around 6 to 8 weeks.
Okay. Yeah, I don't think you can rely on him to be the because So, but when this whole story started, Mox got his title shot by taking Darby's title shot and saying he wasn't ready for it, and this all looked because then Mox used that title shot to beat Danielson, and that's what started all of this. So the perfect situation is Darby beating Mox to end all of this, but I also don't want them to stretch out the Death Riders thing and wait on Darby either.
God, no.
So I feel like they gotta pivot or whatever you want to call it. And they got to go with either Ospreay, Swerve, or Hangman. All three great options, by the way, for all different reasons.
Yeah. Yep. And when this started, I honestly, and granted, my mind's completely changed since then. But when this first started, I thought maybe this is to get Wheeler Yuta a big push. But that was at the beginning of this. Now I'm kind of just I think they've hinted at it too many times that I think they've tried to see how it would go, and it just didn't go that route, they just didn't go that route, and that's okay.
Yeah. The Yuta stuff, I'm with you, because I really thought at the beginning of the story that he was, because he kind of was used as a decoy for them at first, where it was they would use him to bait out the people they were trying to attack, but you weren't sure if Wheeler was in on it or not. He looked just as scared as anyone else until he realized that they were using him. And also he has that longtime connection with the Best Friends, and they, took out, Chuck Taylor and went after Orange Cassidy and stuff. So Yuta, I'm a big fan of Yuta's. I think that he's he was impressive even on the indie scene. I covered a lot of his work when he was the IWTV. I think he was actually the power. He might have even been the Powerbomb.tv champion before it was IWTV. But Wheeler Yuta, I've been watching him for a long time, and I think that he's always been super talented in the ring, and he's only gotten better and better over the years, being on AEW TV, being under the mentorship of the people from the Blackpool Combat Club. And now the Death Riders. I think he's really damn good in the ring. I think he tells great stories in the ring. He's still young also. Like I don't know his actual age, but I think he's still relatively young. So
you're talking
he's another
Darby
guy.
or
Yuta.
Oh, Yuta. Yeah, Yuta's I want to say he's under 30 still, but he's 28.
28. So that's still right around, like, probably not even technically in his prime yet. A lot of pro wrestlers don't actually really get in their prime until like their early to mid 30s. Like some of the top wrestlers in the world right now. Cody's a good example, obviously, of that. But like, So anyway, I'm interested to see what they do with all these guys too. But I do want to see when this Death Riders thing ends or starts imploding. I think it would benefit Wheeler Yuta greatly to get a big win over John Moxley one-on-one at some point. Like not necessarily for the championship, but you know what I mean? Like he's just got to beat the guy. And he's not going to get that chance against Danielson probably. And you can have him like kind of one by one beat, Pac, Claudio, and then like get to Mox and like take out Mox and like kind of come out as like an actual star out of this thing. Or at least they can attempt it, in my opinion. I think Yuta deserves the chance.
Oh yeah, for sure. And like you talked about, like prime, like Swerve Strickland, he's 34. So in my opinion, he's just at the beginning of his prime. And that's in my opinion. Hangman, I think, is 32 or 33. So again, like right there.
Yes. And another thing I wanted to mention briefly about AEW, because you talked about AEW being like the benefits of AEW existing. Obviously, there's a lot of benefits, but one of them that you mentioned was not only does it give like wrestlers more places to work, it gives like the stars and stuff. But what I think that like I'm trying to put myself in the shoes of like the like hardcore WWE audience, because there's obviously this hardcore WWE audience, there's hardcore AEW audiences, there's people like me and you that are like we're a fan of both and we're supporting both. I think there's a lot of people that really, really hate on AEW just because they're so loyal to WWE, but they don't realize that like the majority of the future of WWE is currently in AEW. Like there's we haven't seen the end of people coming over before their prime or in their prime. Like, MJF, I have no doubt in my mind he'll be in the WWE at some point in his career, and he will be in his early to mid 30s probably when it happens. He'll be right there in that same pocket.
I'm convinced this is like MJF's the last contract he signed with MJF, or excuse me, with AEW is his last contract with AEW for now. I can see him going back in the future, but I think he's gonna. It's always possible. Don't get me wrong. He could stay. Maybe like we know he's doing Happy Gilmore this year. I think today I saw that he's like one of the top 10 actors to watch out for this summer. I think I saw.
Really, that's funny.
So you got that. So you never know, but I know. But I also know he's like when it comes down to it, how much further can WWE put you at the top? Like it's one of those things. But I think personally, and this without me knowing anything, I think this is his last contract with AEW until he signed with WWE.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with that too. And it's the same kind of thing for. I would imagine a big reason Jade Cargill opted to sign with WWE instead of AEW was for the same types of reasons. Like there's just a level of like, let me put it this way. If you're a top star in AEW that has never been in the WWE before, you're going to get recognized places. Like people are going to know who you are. Like you are a star, but like, the second you show up on WWE television, you never go to an airport again or a restaurant again without being recognized. Like it's a completely different, like it is a totally different worldwide level of exposure. And if you want to be more than a pro wrestler and you want to be in movies or music or other types of things like that, I'm not saying WWE is necessarily the be-all end-all best place to do that stuff because, like Samantha Irvin, for instance, like wanted to pursue some of that stuff and wound up leaving the WWE to pursue it. Like it depends on what your prerogative is and stuff like that. But like if you want more people to know you exist, you would want to be in the WWE. So And there's nothing wrong with that. And there's nothing wrong with someone like MJF signing that deal that he did with AEW, making a ton of money. He's still on their TV show. He's doing whatever Tony Khan wants him to do out there on screen, and maybe he winds up in the WWE eventually. And there's going to be people from WWE. They're going to wind up in AEW. And that's the benefit of this is there's places for the wrestlers to go back and forth. They're all going to make more money because of it. That's how negotiation works. I think wrestlers should just like in all sports, I think wrestlers should always test free agency. Like you should find out what your true market value is. And this stuff is changing by the month and by the year. The amount of money coming in on these TV deals and these streaming deals and the way that contracts change and like you don't want to lock yourself into like a 5-year plus deal at whatever the market is right now and not know 2 years from now what your actual value is. Like, so anyways,
I mean, I look at it this way too. 2 years ago, and hell, maybe even last year, Chris Jericho, I don't think there was a shot in hell that he'd be going to WWE. But the way the landscape has changed, I actually think he's going to be in the Royal Rumble next year. That's just me. That's me. Yeah. You know, and I think once he does it, it's going to make him even like he's going to be big again, like very popular. So like there's just things like that. And then I could see him just doing like a 1-year deal and going back to AEW. I can just see this already. Like we've already know he's cutting way back. He's cutting way down like on his work, and that's fine. I mean, he's at that age now where you kind of hope he would do that. But that just shows how the industry has changed so much that it's like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I agree with you. By the way, I do expect Jericho to show back up in the WWE at some point in probably the near future. I have no idea what his AEW deal looks like, but I would imagine he has not wrestled his last WWE match of his life. Put it that way.
A couple years ago, I thought he did, but now it's kind of like just the way things are and the way the money is. Like, there's no way in hell he's done.
Yeah,
in my opinion,
dude, I wouldn't be. I'm not gonna sit here like making reports or saying there's, but I'm just saying like. We never thought Cody would leave AEW. He founded the company. I mean, I'm not saying it's out of the realm for like a Kenny Omega to wind up in the WWE before it's all said and done for some sort of run. I mean, that's not to say that somebody right now in AEW or WWE, I mean, who would have thought that Edge or like half these guys that, you know, were in WWE for their entire careers would wind up in AEW, now and stuff like so. And once again, you're able to have these options because both companies exist. So it's a win for everybody.
And it's in my opinion, this is just my opinion. It's a matter of time before WWE. I know it's going to sound really weird, but it's a matter of time before WWE like kind of just drops like their weirdness towards AEW.
Yes.
Like it's a matter of time where they just drop it, and it's like, you know what? It's actually maybe costing us money. Like we're not going to lose the way they look at it, and maybe they can get more out of it or something. Like, not necessarily saying they're going to work together, but there's no reason why they can't like make work on things, you know, like there's no reason for it. Like, I mean, that's the way I look at the TNA thing. There's like, it's not hurting them. Granted, TNA is on a lot less TVs compared to AEW, and they don't have necessarily they're not even close to the same ballpark when it comes to like eyeballs, but that's the way WWE likes it, eyeballs. But like, that's the thing. Like down the road, I'm not saying it's going to be this year, next year. It could be 5 years from now, but I think it's going to be like WWE knows that, hey, we're going to make money anyway. So can we borrow this footage? We'll let you use this footage type thing. Like, I see that going, and that partly because I think Tony Khan's such a big fan of wrestling. That's why it will, in the long run, I think it'll help.
Yeah, well, I completely agree. Like Tony Khan obviously loves pro wrestling, and he has his whole life. He's helping co-promote and co-produce right now the next Dean show that Action Wrestling produced last year. He's in the indie wrestling game again right now. He's worked with other companies, obviously Forbidden Door with New Japan and TNA and stuff like that. And like, the thing with at some point in the future, I think both sides just kind of need to both kind of know their places in the sense of like like you said, WWE is they're bulletproof. Like they're not going anywhere. No one's overtaking them. And they're finding out how beneficial it is to them to have positive relationships with all these other companies that they're working with now, because they're also trying to globally expand. Like clearly when you make the moves that they've made, where like they're basically like they bought AAA, they're probably, I wouldn't be surprised if they did the same for like Dragon Gate or New Japan. I mean, The Rock was wearing a New Japan shirt on Instagram not too long ago. They've already had stuff planned for years with NXT UK to try to set up what they're eventually doing with NXT Europe. I'd imagine they're going to do the same thing in Canada. Like they're like all over the world. Like I wouldn't be surprised at all. I mean, and it only benefits them to have positive relationships with all these other companies. And same with Tony Khan and AEW, because like you don't want to constantly have to fight that battle with that company, because it's a losing battle to like be at odds or against them completely. Like it's okay to be competitive for, you know, you're trying to compete in certain ways and you're a wrestling fan, you want to have a great wrestling show. Like that's awesome. As a wrestling fan, I appreciate it. But like it's because imagine a scenario where like you mentioned, both companies are in some sort of situation where like AEW can't get over this hump of like Jericho's getting booed out of these buildings. He's not liking what's happening anymore. Like it just isn't a good fit at the moment. But you know, Tony Khan, similar to like a Russell Wilson contract, like he's already paid Jericho. Like he's already on he's on Jericho's on his books already. Yeah. And maybe it's like, well, you know what? If we have this relationship with WWE, you guys can actually talk and go, you know what? We'll lend you Jericho to do the Rumble and to do WrestleMania, because like, you know, he's like, it's going to be a fit there. He's going to love doing it. Your fans are going to love doing it. And in exchange, like you give us, you know, like AJ Styles for a couple shows for some dream matches or whatever. Like you have that door open. You know what I mean? Like that would just be, it would only benefit literally everybody involved to have that kind of relationship with with these companies.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So, like that's the thing. It's I completely agree with you.
So anyways, that all said, we're both fans of both. And I'm very much looking forward to the finals of the Owen tournament. I can't wait I think Ospreay versus Hangman is going to be a match of the year candidate. It hasn't even happened yet. I'm going to call it ahead of time, like the greatest match of all time with Randy Orton and Edge. I'll market this ahead of time. But my official prediction, my official prediction, I'm going to go with Hangman Page. But it's almost a coin flip, like because I could see an argument for both guys.
Yeah, right now, if you told me to like pick, I would be like, God, I can see it going both ways. I personally, I think it'd be Hangman. I think the best way, granted, I know it's a long ways away, but I think the best way to do it, let Hangman go, get it. And I don't know what it'll be, but I think August of 2027, right? Or 2026 rather. August of 2026, whenever they go back to London for All In, that's where Will Ospreay wins the title for the first time. That's my opinion. That's how you do it.
Yeah, I mean, preferably he would win the title in front of that audience. And I kind of thought that they were going to do it last year when it wound up going to Swerve. Well, Swerve wound up winning it, but then he wound up defending against Danielson, and Danielson won. But
yeah, that's right. Yep.
But there was a path at that time before all that happened that like it could have been Ospreay winning the title at that show.
And I think maybe that's what they would have done if it wasn't Danielson's like last ride, like because Omega Khan is such a big Bryan Danielson guy, like we all are, and that was his way of saying, "Hey, I want to put this title on you." Because Danielson was clear; he said it multiple times. He didn't need to be a champion. He didn't want to really be the champion. I mean, I always think that. I think deep down that's kind of like, I don't know. I don't want to say he's lying, because I think you always want to be the champion. But I can also see that I see his point. Like he's already done everything. He wants to help other people out now. So.
Yeah. Yeah, nothing wrong with that. Danielson, as you mentioned, we all love that guy. Absolute legend. One of the GOATs, like one of the legitimate GOATs of professional wrestling. Also, you just mentioned, with it being, we knew it was going to be Danielson's last run, or at least full time, and possibly forever. Like, it sounds like he's not itching to get back in the ring anytime soon.
He made it sound like he's done.
Yeah, good on him if he is. Like, I'm not going to be one to like try to put any kind of pressure or weird juju out there about like, getting back in there and risking, like, shoot, if you're good, you're good. I think, it reminded me, I just think it's kind of funny. We don't have to talk about this. It just reminded me. It's funny to me that they tried to do this whole John Cena last year thing with Jeff Jarrett. And then like a few weeks in, they were like, never mind. Like, they just like haven't like,
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and I like Jeff Jarrett. I just thought that was a misfire by AEW to try to, I don't want to take credit away from Jeff Jarrett, obviously legend in his own right. Actually, one of the nicest guys I've ever met in person in wrestling. Like, he legitimately,
very nice guy.
I met him at the Nashville Fairgrounds years ago, and he was incredibly, like, he asked me if I wanted to get a picture. Like, he wasn't asking me for like a picture of me, but he just like, I was talking to him. I happened to see him walking by himself, like after a show, and it was just in this weird area that no one else was in. And I walked up to him, and we were actually talking about the Nashville Sounds baseball team a little bit, and their minor league team. And I don't know. I asked him about something, or told him something was good on the NWA show that I had just seen, and he was like, "Oh, hey man, well, you want to get a picture with me or something?" I was like, yeah, hell yeah, man. Like, I would like, usually I feel like it's a burden to like ask someone a whole bunch of questions, like try to get a picture. He was like, he asked me if I wanted a picture. And I was like, dude, that's what a nice guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, that's awesome. Yeah, for sure.
But anyway, it was a misfire to like try to do that storyline with him on AEW. And then like, obviously, I don't know. I'm interested to see kind of what they wind up ultimately doing with that, because Jeff Jarrett should get a great send-off for his career, but they should not be comparing it to what John Cena is doing, obviously, in the WWE right now. All right, we got a couple more topics. I'm going to run through them quickly, but I'm going to hit the bumper and just kind of give y'all a quick little rundown here of the last couple spotlights.
Our product is what it is. We're going straight up the middle.
Other spotlight today.
These always pop me.
These are Jeremy Lambert gets the credit for putting the box together. I get credit for the intro video with the music and all that stuff. I edited all that together years ago as a joke. I sent it to Jeremy, like thinking we probably wouldn't even use it, and like it popped him massively, and we've used it ever since for like 3 years now or whatever. So, anyways, other spotlight this week is TNA Wrestling. They had Rebellion this past weekend. I was actually live on the post show. Scott George says nothing on NWA is any good, Steven. This was like the NWA 70th anniversary show. This is when the NWA was actually like kind of popping. Like, they had like Ricky Starks and Sammy Guevara and Cody versus Nick Aldis. Like, they had Cody Rhodes on the damn show. Okay. But anyways. TNA Rebellion. I was on the post show with Cresta Star and Joel Pearl. If you want my full thoughts on the full TNA Rebellion show, that's over on the Main Fightful YouTube channel. If you want to check out, my full review there with our good friends Joel and Cresta. But I just wanted to quickly bring up on this show, spotlight the Santana versus Ali match. I want y'all to go out of your way to watch it if you didn't see it. They did some incredible spots during this match, some stuff I've never seen before, as a matter of fact. It was brutal. It was violent. It was bloody. The finish was great. Ali winds up taking a barbed wire baseball bat that Santana had actually introduced to the match, and Ali winds up hitting Santana in the head with it. It busts Santana open, and then Ali goes to hit Santana, like baseball swings it into Santana's midsection, but Santana like catches the barbed wire bat under his arm and just like eats the pain, just blocks it and just holds it under his arm. And Ali is like what the hell? Like he's like shocked that Santana's just like eating it, and then Santana hits spin the block and pins him. Really, really good stuff. Really good stuff. That they did a spot during this match that once I've never seen this before. It's gonna be hard to describe it, but they had Sinner and Saint were like pushed up against. How do I explain this? They took the steel ring step and they put it in the ring, but they positioned it upright, so it wasn't sitting how it normally does, like to walk up. It was sitting upright, and so essentially all these cronies are up against, they're handcuffed and up against it. So like they're supporting this thing so it doesn't fall over. It was really geniusly put together, this spot. But anyway, Santana winds up superplexing Ali. It winds up being like a solid couple feet like higher than the top rope. But he winds up doing a superplex off the top of a vertical steel steps through a table. Like it was really, really, really damn good. D'Lo Diggs in the chat. Good to see you, D'Lo, as always. Says that dive spot with the step was freaking gnarly. I didn't even mention that. The match pretty much starts with a tope suicida where it was Ali, right? And I'm getting the two confused right now because the spots were crazy, but I'm almost positive it was Ali did that and just went headfirst directly into the steel steps to start the match on the outside. It happened within like the first couple minutes of the match, I think. Anyway, the match was crazy. It was damn good. It stole the show, and it was I enjoyed Rebellion from top to bottom for the most part. I thought the main event was really good as well. I thought the ladder match, or what was it? It was they had like so many matches on it that had like hardcore elements. I'm kind of like blending some of them together. Let me see if I can pull up the card real quick.
Well, like Ethan Page being added to that triple threat match was made it very intriguing for me.
Yes,
but I didn't think he'd win, but I was very curious about it, and the fact that they got Trick involved now makes me very, very curious to see what way they go, because it's good storytelling.
Yes, I didn't even mention it. Yeah. Trick Williams showed up at the end of the show to attack TNA champion Joe Hendry after he retained over Ethan Page and Frankie Kazarian. The match I was confusing with the ladder match. They had an Ultimate X match to open the show, and that was a really, really good one too. That was the match where nobody caught Leon Slater on the way down. I shouldn't say nobody caught Leon Slater. There were people who did make attempts. I mean, you can see on the video that AJ Francis and I think Sidney Akeem is the other one who gets like a good arm on him on the way down. I'm not going to sit here and name names and place blame. I don't actually think that anybody maliciously,
dropped the ball,
did not catch him on purpose, but you do see that sea of people kind of split. So I do understand why wrestling fans and other wrestlers are quick to be like, yo, this is really messed up. Like, you got to catch this guy. It's a crazy spot. It was one of the most impressive looking spots I've ever seen. Like, he came off basically the scaffold holding the Ultimate X with a Swanton 450. And,
the way he landed, he could have because of Francis being there. Francis did a good job, but Francis could have been hurt pretty bad with his shoulder. And I think he tweeted about that. He caught him with his shoulder pretty much, or something like that. But I mean, I'm glad Francis was there. Francis gets a lot of grief online, but he's the one thing he won't do is let somebody get hurt. So I was happy to.
I was saying, I got mad respect for AJ Francis. Like, he doesn't deserve really any of the shit I see him get online, honestly.
No, it's ridiculous. He's a good person.
Yeah, I mean, the best chokeslam in the game too, and in all of wrestling, he's got the best chokeslam of any wrestler in any company right now. I put money on that. Like, this guy, I mean, and obviously more importantly, like he basically risked blowing his shoulder out and breaking his arm, probably trying to just get anything in the way of Leon hitting. And that's the thing too. Leon could have easily, splattered his face. He could have broken his neck. I mean, there's so many bad things. Like the fact that dude just stood up and finished the match is insane.
Yeah, I mean, hell, like, I mean, that's the thing. You just look, you never know with wrestling. Some of the weirdest things, it's like Kevin Owens said, something he's done countless times, just a flute with his neck, just, it's crazy.
Oh, of course. Yeah. Adam Cole, I mean, out for a whole year by running down the entrance ramp, basically. I mean, I know he jumped off the thing, but it was like it's just,
I mean, that's the thing. It's crazy how that works. Like, it just, fluke situation.
Yeah. So anyway, the Rebellion show I thought was really good. If you want my full review, check it out over the main Fightful YouTube channel. The Nemeth brothers did defeat the Hardys to become the TNA Tag Team Champions. Also, Masha Slamovich did defeat Tessa Blanchard, which I know people were, or I shouldn't say most people seem to be pretty happy about that outcome. Let's put it that way. And I think that I'm interested to see what Tessa's future looks like in TNA based on the reaction she's been getting. I'll just leave it at that. It was cool seeing Sean Waltman on the show. Also, he came out with the Rascals and Ace Austin, and they did DX cosplay, but like it worked. It didn't come off as like too cheesy or out of place. Like it fit with those guys and like kind of their whole vibe. And of course, Waltman being there, it all made sense. Shout out to Moose for pulling double duty. He wrestled the X Division Ultimate X match and then also wrestled the 6-man match. The only downside to the Ultimate X was the finish was a little messed up. Leon Slater came down with the title and Moose was supposed to spear him midair, but Leon's feet hit the floor or hit the mat a little early. But I don't really blame one guy or another, honestly, for that. They were ambitious with the spot. They barely mistimed it, but I appreciate the effort on what they went for, and commentary covered up for it really well. So, any additional thoughts on TNA or anything before I quickly do the indie spotlight before we get out of here?
No, I'm good.
Awesome.
Covered everything.
All right, one last bumper. Here we go.
I'm gonna give a big motherfucking shout out.
MDK. Our indie spotlight this week. So, announcement for everybody. The guest this week was scheduled to be Josh Bishop. I was planning on having him come on and doing like half hour or so live interview on today's show. Due to scheduling, we wound up pushing back to next week. So please join us for that next week. I know I had talked about on the Weekender that we were planning to have Josh on this week. I just wanted to let y'all know, not his fault, not my fault. It worked out better to do it next week for everybody involved. So support Josh, and Josh is the man. And I'm really looking forward to catching up with him live next week. And we're going to be talking a lot about what I'm going to talk about right now, which was Joshua Bishop in my indie spotlight defeating the former Jinder Mahal to become the new BLP champion. Josh is a guy that I've literally been watching since like his third wrestling match years and years ago. I happened to be at a Southern Underground Pro show in Nashville, Tennessee when he was getting his start. I think I'm the first person to ever interview him like years ago. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure I was. And I've always had a good relationship with the dude, and I've always been pulling for him to be successful. And he's been doing great work. He's been having to deal with some injuries the last couple of years, but he seems to be healthy. And I mean, he's signed to West Side Gun, which is really cool. He's got a lot going for him. He's had an MLW experience, TNA experience. He's got the look. I mean, people always compare him to Sid Vicious, but like he's got that like TV look where you could totally see him being a big deal on AEW or WWE or NXT or whatever. Like. So I'm a big Josh Bishop guy, and I'm really looking forward to having him back on the show. He was also, just for what it's worth, he over apologized for not being able to make it this week. Like he felt really bad because he knows that he really likes the people who view this show and stuff. Like all y'all in the chat and stuff. Like Josh is really looking forward to chatting with me and Jeremy next week for y'all, and was looking forward to coming on. We were going to have Rob do it this week, but once again with the reschedule, it just made sense to do next week. But congratulations to Joshua Bishop for becoming the BLP champion, one of my favorite independent wrestling promotions, Black Label Pro, and he won the match with a move that I didn't expect him to use. Like normally he does the Bishop Bomb, which is kind of like a hybrid of the Razor's Edge into the Jackknife Power Bomb. So it's like a crucifix bomb, but he kind of like catches your legs on the way down into a power bomb. In this match, he switched it up to what I can only describe as like, and I don't know if this is what he was going for or not. I'll ask him about it next week. But it was like a jackhammer power slam. It was like instead of coming down, like, you know,
okay.
Instead of like a vertical suplex into like kind of like the almost scoop slam position, like falling that Goldberg would do, he kind of drops Jinder like onto his shoulder down into a power slam from the vertical suplex position. So unexpected finish because I wouldn't expect him to use that move, but I liked it. And I think it's going to look pretty badass if he does that to like a smaller wrestler too. But it's I mentioned this on the Weekender also. I really like seeing Josh get opportunities to wrestle guys like Jinder on the indies because I think it's going to help prepare him for eventually, you know, AEW, WWE, whatever winds up being next for him on like a bigger stage at some point. Because while people in wrestling, like you can be all shapes and sizes nowadays, it's not just like a big man sport like it used to be.
Yeah.
To be in AEW, like you're going to have a lot of guys though that are larger, that match up physically with him a lot more than what you see him get on the indie scene. So to see him like have a former WWE world champion in Jinder Mahal, like TV ready, you know, TV experience, looks like a, you know, WWE superstar pro wrestler. And then, you know, the week before that at the Collective, Josh took on Zilla Fatu in a steel cage for the Collective on the For the Culture show. And we all know Zilla is going to wind up in the WWE. That's literally just a matter of time. Like it's just whenever the time is right for the WWE to make the call, he's WWE bound. Everyone knows it.
Yeah.
So it's just good. It's good to see Josh mixing it up with these guys that I know are TV, you know, stars, if that makes sense. So good stuff.
Yep.
All right. Well, that is everything I've got. Anything you want to add before we get out of here? Anything you want to bring up, or you've been a fan or anything?
Yes. Well, a few minutes ago, Savannah Evans tweeted out that she's a free agent now. So TNA's Savannah Evans, she's a free agent. WWE abandoned their trademark for Edge. However, they do have they still have the trademark for merchandise. So, I mean, I don't really know how like Edge would use it, and I don't think I think my thing is like I know people get excited for it, but part of me thinks he'll just keep that. Like I think he'll keep Cope or Adam Copeland there because that's just me. He might, who knows? But my thing is, if you can't sell merchandise under the name, I don't really know what the point is. I mean, maybe one last match under it, but I don't see that being the case. But yeah, I mean, those are only two things that I saw, and the only reason I bring that Adam Copeland thing up is because I saw it gaining some traction online. So I wanted to bring it up and say, well, I mean, it's cool, but the WWE still has the trademark stuff for like merchandise sales. So
that's interesting. I hadn't seen that yet. So you're saying that it's the WWE didn't renew it to where like, so if Edge wanted to be the rated R, because they let it completely go for the rated R superstar, which surprised people when he came into AEW. But like, so he could go as Edge in AEW on television, but they wouldn't be able to sell any merchandise that said that on there.
I would assume that's the way it is. I mean, I would assume like for the merchandise and stuff wise, like that tells me right there that they're keeping it for like them from anybody making a profit off of it instead of them. So, like for IP purposes, I think that's probably all they need to do though, you know, but I don't know. Like that's the thing. Like who knows? Maybe that'll be abandoned next week. There's no way to tell. Like and that originally came from Wrestle Ops, so that's where that was from.
Yeah, I'm seeing that now as well. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Well, yeah. I'm reading. I'm not gonna be able to read fast enough to get a full, but yeah. Interesting. I wonder if they'll do that more often. It's weird to me with like their current relationship with TNA. Not really weird. It's just interesting how, like, if they're under contract to TNA, they use their TNA name even if they've been in the WWE before and they're back on WWE TV. Like, here's a good example of this. Like I'm pretty like, didn't they call JDC and not Fandango whenever he came back to NXT recently and stuff? Like they still, like, even though WWE has the name and they can use it, they're under TNA contract, but they're still being used on WWE TV. Does that make sense? I know that sounds confusing.
Yeah, that I don't like. That I don't know. Like TNA, because TNA, I don't necessarily know if they do the names like, you know, like all the time. Maybe some of those names are trademarked by the wrestlers themselves. I don't know, and they get to do it. So I don't know.
Yeah, because like Nick Nemeth, for instance, like if Nick Nemeth were to go to do a show for NXT with their relationship right now with WWE, like if he showed up on NXT right now and wound up wrestling on NXT, you would think they'd call him Dolph Ziggler, but like, but like I think they would call him Nick Nemeth because he's under contract with TNA and he's a TNA wrestler coming onto their show. Probably,
he was known as Dolph Ziggler or something when he was here, like.
Yeah,
I would assume that's how they would do it, but that's the thing. Anytime you assume, you know,
exactly.
So
yeah, it's just
I'm just going based off like common sense, and usually when it comes to common sense in wrestling, you throw that out the window. So who knows?
Yeah, exactly. You might want to go with the opposite. Well, anyways, Rob, I appreciate you being on the show as always, buddy.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Oh yeah, absolutely, dude. Let everyone know where to find you at and plug your stuff.
Well, one last thing, I saw DJ Duke ask this question in the chat. He said, do you think WWE can make AAA better? Honestly, I didn't get to watch much AAA, like where I haven't been able to watch much of it in years. I used to watch it all the time when I was younger. If they want it to be good, they can, you know, if that's the thing. If they're very like hands-on, I don't necessarily know. I hope they don't change things. I hope they let them kind of do what they've been doing, let them do their own thing. But it's one of those things where I can see why a lot of people are nervous about it. I could definitely see why fans of Lucha Libre would be nervous. I definitely see it. I hope it is good, though. I hope it's good for them because there's a lot of fans out there that don't. It's kind of like I kind of see it the way how WWE was like for the longest while when there was no AEW. It was just kind of repetitive, and that's the last thing I want that to be for fans of Lucha Libre, because Lucha Libre wrestling is great, and that's the last thing I want them to do is lose like what they're about. I think they'll be okay, but that's just me hoping. But I think they'll be. I think if WWE is like somewhat hands-off-ish. I mean, I understand business-wise they have things they want to do, but story-wise, I think they just let them do what they're doing, and they'll be fine.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think you're probably right. I think WWE is going to really benefit AAA to have, or AAA, depending on
Triple
is. But yeah. I would say having access to WWE, like the shows, like the production and stuff, like might like there's stuff the WWE can help with to make things bigger for AAA that I think is going to be cool potentially. The other thing with AAA is I don't know. I don't follow their. I mean, I'm obviously aware of the company forever, but like I don't follow it on like a regular basis. To my understanding, AAA kind of like they're obviously a Lucha Libre company, but they kind of abandoned like the years back, to my understanding, they kind of made it more like sports entertainment-ish, if that makes sense. Like there's a lot more sports entertainment elements than what you would get out of like purely traditional lucha libre wrestling. So if anything, I think this will just kind of enhance what they're already doing. Like I think there's still going to be like a lot of masked wrestlers, a lot of lucha, like a lot of it's probably gonna be the same people you've been seeing on the show. I don't think they're gonna like go in there and like gut the thing and like totally change it, but like the elements that you liked about AAA, WWE will probably be able to find ways to enhance that stuff to make it even better, probably.
Yeah, exactly.
So, and they're going to get exposure for a lot more talent too. I mean, it's similar in certain ways to like the WWID program, where it's like the WWID, they haven't been, to my knowledge, WWE has not told any of these indie promotions like, hey, our wrestler A or whatever, like they can't lose on your show, or like they can't wrestle this person, that person. They're not making them put like WWE promotional stuff on their posters and in their tweets and stuff like that. But so like my point is they're not making them change anything about the companies or themselves or the actual wrestlers. But the benefit is some of these wrestlers that were probably having a hard time making ends meet, maybe they don't have to work a full-time job anymore. Maybe they can leave their job completely or go part-time or whatever. And they're getting help a little bit with like travel money and food and stuff like that. So it's like,
get them more experience so they can travel farther and stuff like that. Yeah.
Exactly. And I expect it to be similar to AAA. Like, I think that they'll put their money into it. They'll put their production into it. They'll put their team by. WWE's got the best team in the world. And like any, people don't understand.
Like, they don't. It's crazy. Like WWE, like TV companies like hire from WWE, like some of these people, because they know like these people are good. Like, and I mean, that's one thing I'll say. Like, that was one thing that they did well. I mean, they do a lot of things well, but their editing, their video department is top notch. And I mean, hell, there's a reason why they're looked upon like fondly for their work, like in sports. Like that's how well they are, and their turnaround time with highlights is just up there.
Yeah, they have literally the best team in the world of like any. I mean, you literally put that up there with the NFL and the MLB, and they're all the best setups for. I mean, they talked about it during that WrestleMania 9 documentary about how a lot of that kind of wound up coming together with the Las Vegas venues and pay-per-view side and all that, because pro boxing needed help with their production for one of their big fights. And so they hired WWE to come in and help the pro boxing event put on a better show. And then the right people meet Vince and that team and stuff. And the next thing you know, they're promoting, WrestleMania out of that same town. And
it's like the Nick Khan thing. Like Nick Khan, like the biggest thing about him was Vince was so impressed with him after negotiating that Fox deal that he pretty much hired him. That's from everything I've understood, that's how it worked, but I could be wrong. But I mean, he was the one that got, from everything I've read, and I believe that's the case. Like that's how that he got with WWE, because Vince was impressed with how much money he made him. But I mean, that's the thing, it's crazy. But no, you can follow me at Rob Wilkins on X. I'm also on Instagram and Threads at Fightful Rob. Tomorrow, which is Friday, the May 2nd, you can catch me on Fightful Overbooked right here for Coexisting with Rob and Maggie. We start the show at 3:00 Eastern. We go for about an hour to an hour and a half, just talking nonsense, and we are definitely the rated R version of most shows on Fightful.
Well, Maggie, if you see this, I love you, Maggie. I miss seeing you on here. Now that that our show does not align well with your daily schedule, but we miss you here in the chat, and always a big fan of Maggie.
Yes, yep. I wouldn't be where I'm at without Maggie. So that's the thing. Like I don't do what I'm doing at Fightful without Maggie. So she's a big part of me. Like, so yeah. And it's fun. We've been doing this show now for almost over 3 years. So it's just crazy. So
love it. Well, thank you again, Rob, for joining the show. You can follow me, everyone, at on X at Fight Talk _. Please listen to the Fightful Select Weekender podcast. That's every Sunday or Monday, depending on the indie wrestling schedule that weekend. Either Sundays or Mondays over on FightfulSelect.com, covering the world of independent professional wrestling. Next week, as I mentioned, right here next Thursday, card subject to change, scheduling stuff happens, but if all goes as planned, next week we will have Joshua Bishop on the show for a live interview with y'all, the new BLP champion. And Jeremy should be back next week as well. I think that's pretty much everything that we got going on. I feel like there's like a glaring thing that I'm totally missing here, but
go Timberwolves. That's pretty much the only thing I can think you're missing. So
there you go. Yeah, very cool to see the success that they've been having, and the superstar that Anthony Edwards has become has been pretty cool.
Yeah.
They haven't had a guy like that since Garnett. I mean, it's really cool.
Yeah, no, it's pandemonium here, like so very excited, and but thank you again, Steven, for having me. Anytime, man.
Oh, I appreciate you. And I hope everyone who watches this didn't mind too much of the Vikings talk at the beginning, but I'm going to take my opportunities to talk about my favorite professional sports team in the entire world, Minnesota Vikings. Skol Vikings. Till next Thursday, be right here, same place, same time, 6:30 p.m. Eastern time. Fightful overbooked. And you'll hear from me next over on FightfulSelect.com for the Weekender. Have a good weekend, everybody.